killer tried to remove all evidence of the crime, but in the process created entirely new forensic evidence that almost had investigators stumped, until scientists tried a technique that had never been used in a criminal case, and in doing so, made forensic history.
Because I had never done such big samples. I always did smaller, so my sampling stage was very small, everything, but I had to build this big sampling stage. So it took me 6 months to do all that data. So we wrote the report and we sent it to the police department. And then once they found him, they said, we know that you have killed this girl. We know that you brought this wood. We have technique that shows it is the same wood. Then he just said, yes, I did it. Yeah, he confessed. So it was kind of funny that even being a physicist, a spectroscopist, now I'm applying it to environmental and biological, but then it was useful for solving a murder mystery. Even though I'm not a biologist or environmental scientist, but I'm a physicist, and how I applied the physics research to do work for climate change, bioenergy, and environmental research. Roger, first, my husband, he's a nuclear engineer. So he got hired at Oak Ridge National Lab. So of course, you want to keep the family together. So I moved to Tennessee after getting my PhD. Also, the AI has to be applied in a way that is ethical, because you don't want the AI to get out of control and then everything goes crazy, and then you have artificial intelligence can go into artificial news, fake news, and all that. So you don't want that. And of course, I knew I don't like biology. Actually, when they give you that dissection of frog, the frog was not fully given anesthesia and it jumped on me, so I just fainted there. So instead of the frog, I was fainted. So teacher said, you're not going to be doctor, go home. In quantum mechanics, I was taught by Schwinger, who's a Nobel laureate, and he was in that Oppenheimer movie, and he said, yes. I was very scared. I said, I did this exam and I got everything correct, but you just gave me a B. Did you make a mistake? And he said, no, you're not Einstein. Only Einstein gets an A. As a scientist, you're not just supposed to do your science, but you're also supposed to talk about your science. Nobody understands scientists as much.
Welcome to What's Up Pro once again. Today we have a guest who is not just a scientist, but a true rock star in the world of research and innovation. Meet Madhavi Martin from ORNL, or as we like to call her, the Science Superwoman. With her incredible expertise and passion for discovery, Madhavi is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the scientific community. Whether she is working on groundbreaking projects, pioneering new technologies, or mentoring the next generation of scientists, she's always at the forefront of innovation. In this episode, we'll dive into Madhavi's fascinating journey from her early inspiration to her current role at ORNL. We'll uncover the secrets behind her exciting professional journey and learn how she balances her high-impact work with a zest for life. Get ready for a fun and enlightening conversation with someone who's making waves in the world of science and beyond. So buckle up for a ride through the world of cutting-edge research and join us in welcoming the phenomenal Madhavi Martin. Welcome, Madhavi, to What's Up Pro. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
So, recently you had a publicity about your work from ORNL, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us something about that? In
Yes.
language. So,
Yeah, that's important. Yes, actually it was just publicity for all my career, what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And it gave an idea about how a physicist, even though I'm not a biologist or environmental scientist, but I'm a physicist, and how I applied the physics research to do work for climate change, bioenergy, and environmental research. So that's why it was kind of like a highlight of what I've been doing over the years, and still not being directly educated in the field, but as applying my physics to the field.
Nice, nice. So can you tell us about yourself? Like, what do you do? What is ORNL basically?
Oh, yes, yes. Oak Ridge National Lab is one of the 16, I think, national labs in the country. And it is actually known for nuclear energy work. So it's famous for that. But nowadays, of course, we have like many divisions, different groups, different divisions that do different kind of work. And there is an environmental science division and there's a biological science division. And we are also well known now because a lot of research is going on in climate change. And then, of course, biological using the what is it called? Basically modifying plants for making bioenergy, which is a big thrust now in recent years, because always we use coal, gas, and use that for our energy source. But now the new thing is to use plants, trees, crops, grasses, any kind of plants for making bioenergy. And the usefulness is like we don't want to take away the crops like corn to make the bioenergy or biofuels. We want to use crops like, plants like switchgrass or poplar, which is not being used from any other thing except they're grown in forests, basically. So, but those kind of crops can be used for application to bioenergy and fuel applications.
Wow, nice. So, is it related to like global warming?
Yes, the climate change, because you don't want the coal-fired plants are always giving out carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur, which is very bad for the atmosphere, and it heats up the atmosphere very quickly. As you can see, now we are getting a lot of crazy climate effects and sudden fires in the southwest and western region of the country. And then over in the eastern part of the country, we have a lot of rain and sudden floods. So it's just drastic changes, which we never had before. So that's why people started thinking, scientists, that maybe we should use some other source of gasoline and energy. So to fuel whatever the human we use in our daily lives. So why not use plants? And plants are very benign. And there are plants that can be used because they are not useful in other things. Of course, plants are wonderful, but you can grow extra and also modify them and genetically change them to survive in very difficult climates. Like in Arizona, we have a field from Oak Ridge National Lab. We're actually monitoring that field, which grows in very hot, Sedona, which is very hot area of the country. And we are growing poplar trees to make sure and genetically modified so that those trees will survive in that kind of hot weather. And we will still have fuel material, plant material to make bioenergy and not be sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, the weather is bad. We don't have fuel for our car, for our homes, energy and all that. So that's why we are doing a lot of research in that area. Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, what inspired you to take this project? Like,
well, being a physicist, I didn't know I was doing very pure physics. I've got trained in quantum mechanics, solid state materials. And then when I came to Roger, first, my husband, he's a nuclear engineer. So he got hired at Oak Ridge National Lab. So, of course, you want to keep the family together. So I moved to Tennessee after getting my PhD. And so I was trying to, of course, since I had a PhD also, I wanted to do work, and make use of that education. So I started looking for a job and I was looking for semiconductors and solid material research. And that was not very popular here in Tennessee. It was all nuclear. And then, but I do spectroscopy, which is using lasers to actually analyze materials. So I was using for semiconductors, but then somebody asked me, can you do it for plants, wood, soil? And I said, of course, it can be used for anything, So that's how I applied for a job here and I got into the environmental and biological sciences area. And then, of course, because I was hired into here, I had to apply my knowledge, not just expect me to get projects that are going to be pure physics, right? So that would be easy for me because that's my training. But then I had to, of course, as a physicist, I had to transition into whatever projects they had and show that I'm useful, because the big national labs, they always do big team science. They, like in a university, you can have a professor who does research and they have students and they are doing by themselves, the professor. But in in any national lab, the big thing is we do big science, big team science, and you have to have people from different backgrounds. So if you have a big project to say, okay, can I? Oh, there is a big project in the north, in Alaska, which is called the North um, uh, Energy Resource, area, and they go to Alaska and they're trying to figure out the climate change there. But for that, not just environmental scientists go, but they need physicists to help them with what's going on in the how to do the physics, applications there. They use chemists because you need to know the chemistry of the soil and other things that they have to look at. Why is the climate change getting worse there now? And so then they take engineers to build some kind of electronics and robots to monitor things. So that the whole team is made up of different backgrounds. So which is a good thing. That's how I survived and started applying my physics to different projects. Yeah.
That's interesting. So if someone wants to join ORNL, what skills do they need? Like as you said, all different.
Oh yes, you can be. And actually, one of my friends was um, writer, and she was losing her job, and so she's asked me if she said, "Oh, Oak Ridge may not take me, but do you know any other job?" I said, "No, we need writers. See, science writers, how they write about. We cannot write that wonderful article by ourselves." So she applied and she's here working for the last 15 years. So it's nice that no, they will hire big, different, like economists are there, because you need to understand the economy of the science that's going on. You need to make sure that you're not wasting you just because you have a great science idea doesn't mean it's going to be economically viable. So there are a lot of economists, and of course all the scientific areas you can be higher, but also then there are journalists, because you want to showcase the science, you have to have proper. And so that's how one time I was approached by what is it called, forensic files, because I solved a murder mystery. So then you need people to connect you, because you cannot go and tell the journalist or the TV station, oh, I did this, and it doesn't matter. You have to, and it has to be done properly through the that it goes through proper channels. So that's how we need journalists, we need publicists, we need all kinds of backgrounds. So yeah, you can get a job here, Gayatri.
I will apply.
Yes, remote also you can do.
Nice, sure. So with all these new technologies coming up now, right? Like AI and all, how does that is that affecting anything?
Oh, it's very difficult. You're right. There's a lot of new projects. There's a new center for artificial intelligence that's been set up at each national lab by Department of Energy, DOD, all those agencies that fund us. But the reason being, you want to make sure whatever science you're doing, the AI will be able to keep track and not go out of control. But also the AI has to be, what is it called? Applied in a way that is ethical, because you don't want the AI to get out of control and then everything goes crazy, and then you have artificial intelligence can go into artificial news, fake news, and all that. So you don't want that. So there's these institutes are set up to make sure that we are having the right guardrails to make sure the science is helped, and the AI will actually give us the information that we are hypotheses that we want or maybe not want, but we don't want it to go crazy and do something that's makes problems for the whole humanity.
That's a little scary also sometimes.
I know, but it's good they're trying to keep it under control. You don't want somebody saying, oh, I'll just do it, and no monitoring or anything. Yeah.
So you just mentioned about the murder mystery that you solved.
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was they made a small movie, which is, on forensic files.
A killer tried to remove all evidence of the crime, but in the process created entirely new forensic evidence that almost had investigators stumped, until scientists tried a technique that had never been used in a criminal case, and in doing so, made forensic history.
So what happened that there was a murder that was committed in Texas. So the story is such that the girl was only 20 years old and she had a little child and she went missing and the child was just left. Nobody leaves a 6-month or baby in the house and disappears. So then her husband was also not there that time. And when he came home, he's like, he couldn't find his wife, but the child was crying. So then he called the police and said, I don't know what happened. My wife is gone. And then the police then started looking for her. So they found her body she was killed, and it was in a small forested area it was a small town. So at the edge of the town is forests were there. So they found her body there. And the person who killed her had actually tried to chop the wood from the tree and burn her body. So the wood was green, so they couldn't burn it fully. And the person who was doing it, he got bored waiting for the wood to burn. So he took the half burnt wood and to some outdoor barbecue party they had in that town. And so then they didn't know, and they found the wood near her body, and they found similar kind of wood in that barbecue pit in that party. But they didn't know who had brought it. So they kept on thinking it's the husband, because the first thing they suspect is the person closest to the victim. So they started asking the husband, and he said, oh yeah, we had problems. But so then they started, and of course they had some like evidence that the person who had taken her had there was some struggle. So they found some DNA. They found, no, not DNA, sorry. They found the footprints that were, in water, some kind of liquid, that the footprints. So the shoes they were looking for, they were looking for fingerprints, but they couldn't connect because they didn't have the person. The husbands didn't match at all. So then they sent the wood to University of Tennessee, which is about 20 miles from here. And the professor there does wood dendrochronology. That means counts the rings of the wood and sees if they match from that barbecue pit and from where they found the body. But he couldn't do it because the tree rings are not very easy to do for that type of wood. It's aspen wood or something. So then he started looking who does wood chemistry and then he found my name on Google to see that I do laser spectroscopy. So called me up and said, I can bring you the samples if you can do this analysis for me. There are 13 there were logs of wood. And I said, yeah, I have a project to do wood chemistry, so I would be happy to try them. So he brought them, he sent them by mail, and 2 of them were control samples, and the rest were like the 2 sites. So then I just decided, had to build, a lot of work went into that because I had never done such big samples. I always did smaller. So my sampling stage was very small, everything, but I had to build this big sampling stage, then do the work and make sure I do consistent rather than, random things. So it took me 6 months to do all that data. And I called him and I said, I have good news and I have bad news. And he said, oh, what's the good news? I said, good news is I finished it. That was done. But then he said, what's the bad news? I said, they all look the same except these 2 woods. I don't know. And he hadn't told me anything about it. So he said, no, that's good. Can I come and visit you? We have not met. And I said, yeah, sure. So, because every time we have somebody coming to a national lab, we have to do a lot of paperwork. So he said, is it okay for me to visit? I said, yeah, I can have the paperwork ready and you can come. So we met and he told me the story afterwards. So I didn't know about it. And then he and I analyzed the data and it was 99% a correlation between the 2 sites, the one in the barbecue pit and the wood that near the body. So then he said, this was the story, this was the thing that happened, and we'll send a report if you can put in all the information that you have done. I said, okay, I can do that. So we wrote the report and we sent it to the police department from Texas, wherever they had asked us. And then after that, they said they were interviewing people who had gone to that barbecue party, who brought this wood. In the meantime, when we were doing all this, the people there said, "Oh, the husband didn't bring the wood. This some other person did," and they were trying to find him. They finally found that person. It took them also a long time. And then once they found him, they said, we know that you have killed this girl, because since we know that you brought this wood, we have technique that shows it is the same wood." Then he just said, "Yes, I did it." Yeah, he confessed. Yeah, so it was very sad that the girl now, the 6-month-old child is without a mother, and the father also doesn't know what to do, and the grandparents are helping taking care. So they made this forensic file, and then that's why they called me and said, "Can you help show us your setup, the experiment?" And I did. And the main point in that, and if you see that show, it's what happened, that I saw these few peaks that you don't see in wood very commonly. It was of titanium, which is metal. And I said, I see these peaks, and I just, showed it to the professor, and then I was talking to the person. And they said, in Texas, near that place, there's a tanning industry, and the tanning industry uses titanium. And that what is it called, waste stream goes into the river or some kind of stream there, and it'll go into the trees pick it up. So only there they find the titanium piece, and it's shown in that the episode of that. So that's how, even I didn't know why they had that, but they explained to me, and I said, "Oh, okay, well, I saw it. That's a good thing."
There's
So
so
yeah.
many are affected, right? Like,
Right. So it was kind of funny that even being a physicist, a spectroscopist, now I'm applying it to environmental and biological, but then it was useful for solving a murder mystery. So that's a good thing. Not that I was looking for it, but I just got that. Then people started sending me, like, I have a whole 1 hour talk I can give about just forensic work. It's crazy, like then they're like, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do that?" And so it gets interesting. It's not my real research work, but a few samples here and there, you can get it done. So
so can you share any more, like this is one of the success stories,
right.
one more success story?
Oh, okay. So there was some. Okay, there were like just 2 samples I got. It was cremation samples where the person had been cremated. But what happened, that then the family said that this person, what happened, the person, I think the wife or whoever, they got the husband cremated. He died. So then the other family members said that, "Why did you cremate?" And the wife said, "Oh, that's much more reasonable nowadays, because to do a big burial, it takes a lot of money and all that." So she was saying that I didn't have the money, and they said, "No, he was shot by somebody's, by like murdered, and now that it's cremated, don't know, you cannot, you don't see the bullet hole, you cannot do anything. If it was just buried, you could exhume the body." So what happened, that they decided to check if the person has been shot, and the woman didn't see it. She said, "I didn't see any bullet thing." So the wife, and so they said, maybe the bullet is still inside his body. So if the body got cremated, it should show up in the ashes. So they sent me the person that they had suspected to have died from a gunshot, the ashes from his body, and then some other person of the same age who died at the same time, but the ashes from which he didn't die of any. So just to compare, you cannot do really quantification, but just to compare and see if natural ashes have that or not. So it was very interesting. So when I got the ashes, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that they said what they are. They said these are cremation samples." So then you get of course, you take precautions not to let it anywhere improperly positioned or anything. So then I did checked the comparison, and oh my gosh, lead, copper, and some of the element, nickel, they came out huge amounts. Like you could see the difference, and compared to the just the control samples. So I just submitted that information and said, yeah, this must be from, because the bullet is made from those materials. I checked that. And so then they had a big lawsuit, and they found the person who had uh, shot this person, and then they had, yeah, that guy went to jail apparently. But this was in Georgia. So we got the samples from Georgia. So that was kind of success that we could see that. It was kind of awesome that then I just sent the information to them and let them know, because finally I think the family wanted to know what happened and why. And it's fun things. Sad, but fun.
I know, sad, fun, and it's scary too. Like sometimes.
Yeah. But it's good that science can show that, even after, like they were convinced it's never going to show once you have a cremation.
So, before joining ORNL, did you work in physics stream?
No, I did my PhD in physics, and then I did a postdoc at University of Tennessee, because I had decided that I want to move where my husband is, because with two PhDs it's always difficult to get jobs in the same area. So then I said, okay, at least I'll move there. Then once I moved here, I got a postdoc at University of Tennessee. So I was working there for a year and a half, and my boss mentor was wonderful. So she said, oh, at the lab, they have an opening. Do you want to apply? So I said, yeah, sure. So I applied, and then I got a job at the lab, just a postdoc again. So I did two as a physicist. Roger didn't do even one postdoc because he's nuclear engineer. They don't need to show that they need to learn. Physicists need to, just regular science have to do postdocs. So I did that. And then at the lab, then I got hired as staff in 1999. So
Like you said, two PhDs cannot get the
it's
job.
very hard. Yeah.
How how is it at home? Like, what are your breakfast table talks?
Oh, yeah, that's what somebody was asking me that, no, I was asking them to help me with some project that I had come up with an idea. And I said, I checked with my husband, and he said, this is a very good, and he wrote down some calculations. And they're saying, is that what you talk at dinner time? They both were asking me. So we do sometimes, not all the time, but do sometimes discuss like some things, because his is different, nuclear, but still he needs help with some analysis. So he will talk to me about laser stuff. So I did do some samples for him, like nuclear samples, but they have to be very carefully packaged. And of course, the laser work can be done if you have a glass window. So you can send the laser in and have the light information you can see from the window, but you have to have it all contained, because it's nuclear material. You don't want it to get leaked out into the regular. It could, be problems. So no. So yeah, we don't talk much because the kids are the main focus usually. But sometimes I will say, I need help with this. I don't know what to do. And then he'll ask me also. So at least that's good. We can then talk something.
Let's go back to your childhood and early education. Can you tell us about your journey till you came to US and did your PhD?
Yeah. My dad and my mom both were professors. My mom was in education. So she was teaching at the college of teaching college, like BT, like Bachelor of Teaching. So she was teaching the teachers how to teach. That's a very weird way to say it, but that's what they do. And so she was doing that, had a job there. And then my dad was a professor in the university. So he did physics. He was a physicist also. So I think I got motivated by him, because I didn't want to do what he was doing, but then how genetically you're more prone. And then every time I said I want to do engineering, he would just say, no, that's not good, that's not good for you. Then I said, I want to do chemistry. Oh no, that's the worst, never do chemistry. And then I said, what should I do? Should I do math? And he said, no, do physics, it's the queen of science. So that was his word. And so I started. And in India, you know how it is. If you get, like in the undergraduate, I did physics, chemistry, math, and I got the best marks in physics. So then they always then only want you to go to that, for higher education. So when I applied, then they took me for masters in physics. So that's how I did my physics. And of course, high school education and all, you have to do everything, biology, all those subjects. And I was the first batch of a 10 plus 2 system in India, which is 10th grade, and then 2 is your 11th and 12th. And then after that, you go to a regular undergraduate college. So that's how I then went to just science side. And then and of course, I knew I don't like biology. Actually, when they give you that dissection of frog, the frog was not fully given anesthesia and it jumped on me. So I just fainted there. So instead of the frog, I was fainted. So teacher said, "You're not going to be doctor, go home." So then I knew I didn't like that anyways. So physics, chemistry, math was my thing. And then in undergraduate, I got the best marks in physics. So I continued then in physics for masters. And then I applied for Rotary Scholarship, which is, a nice way to come and get an education, and didn't want to ask my parents to spend money. So I got the Rotary Scholarship, and it was 1 year for full. And they said, you just have to make sure you get admission to whichever school you want to go. So I applied to UCLA, and I got admission there, and that's how I came to the US. And I did in UCLA and many other schools. They won't just, even though I had finished my master's in India, they won't say accept that master's. They wanted me to do master's PhD programs. I had to do second master's here, and then the PhD after that. So that's how I came here.
That's lots of education.
Oh yeah, too much sometimes.
So, as a woman, did you have any more girls in your classroom? Because
No, physics is very bad. Used to be bad. I think now maybe there's much better, but they had like 5% girls. So we were like 40 students when I joined the department. And out of that, we were just 2 or 3 women. Like it was very bad. Yeah. So there was very hard to be having friendships, and you need to have a network, right? So it was a very difficult. I was not happy because I was always homesick, that's the way. But then I met Roger there. So he was very kind, and he was very nice and always helpful. So then I started to get to know him, and that's how we met. But the women, there weren't many women at all. It was very hard.
right. So, what was the reaction from around you, like people around you, doing this as a career, taking this as a career as a woman?
Yeah, I think I think I survived because I'm very friendly. I like to talk to people. So I would go out of my way to meet other girls from other departments, and then we would be friends. But the other people, they were kind of like not happy. They weren't excited that I was doing physics. They thought that's kind of boring. But you do what is you are good at. That's all you can do, right? If I would be so bad at doing like a law degree or economics, I would just not be happy. So you just find and then if you do well in your subject, then you can make friends from outside. You don't have to but there was no help. Like even the professors were all men. And there was one female professor in can you imagine 45 professors in the physics department we had at UCLA? Only one female. And even she never spoke. And I had sent her a letter before when I looked at the faculty. I sent her a letter saying, I'm so excited that, there's a female professor that I can talk to. Can you guide me something? Can you give me some important things I should read before I come there? Didn't even respond to my email. Yeah. So that was it. I knew that maybe they're so busy. I didn't know how the structure is here in India because my dad was professor. So they were I used to go to the department and everybody used to be nice to talk to, at least we can go and disturb them. But here I thought, my gosh, maybe they're so busy. They don't want anybody stopping by or something. So I didn't know. But then you get to know and see that, no, it's not like that. You have to really keep on engaging with them and bothering them to say, I really need help, or then they will definitely help. But if you don't do it, then they'll think you're self-sufficient. So, yeah,
That's the structure here, I guess.
yeah, yeah. You have to open your mouth. That's the thing. And
Or
the way to do well is to make sure you ask questions. Before, when I came first year, I was like, you know how we are. We just are very quiet, and we just don't speak much. We don't ask questions because we are scared. And so then they would think that um I don't have any like interest. They would make me, they thought I was not a good student because I didn't. But then I had all, like, in quantum mechanics, I was taught by Schwinger, who's a Nobel laureate, and he was in that Oppenheimer movie. So, he was in that program, Manhattan. So he was very famous. So I did very well in my exams, but I didn't ask any questions. Like, I was scared. So, but he gave me a B. This was the first year. I was so upset. I just asked the TA. You have TAs you can ask. So it was a guy, and I said to him that, why do I get a B? I did everything correct. Everything was checked, and then why is it a B, right? And he said, oh, you can ask Professor Schwinger. And I said, okay. So I waited. I knocked the door. Nothing, nothing. He had office hours. Still, he wasn't there. So then I just waited for half an hour, and then the teaching assistant came and went in because he had the key. I said, can you check if he's there? I don't hear it, but I don't hear him. I didn't see him going in. So where is he? So he said, oh, he's in there. And I said, well, can he talk to me? He said, if you want, you can come in when I'm going in. So I went in, and then he said, he didn't even pick up his head from his work he was doing. And he said, yes. And I said, I was very scared. I said, I did this exam and I got everything correct, but you just gave me a B. Did you make a mistake? And he said, no, you're not Einstein. Only Einstein gets an A. So that was his answer. And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to be Einstein, right? So you learn that that's not going to work. So that professor, he gave, no matter how well you did, it was always a B. That's it. And now we get so upset when our kids don't get A's.
A plus.
I know. What is this? Why?
Any more experiences you have with this, like, big professors you work with?
No, it's just, you do the best you can, and you just want to get your degree. And I really got a very good professor to do my PhD with. He was really nice. And he is the one who taught me the best way to give presentation. Like, we don't know. We barely, like, half the time I'm doing, when I was learning, and he would say, okay, I'll teach you how to give you the best, because he gave really great presentation. And I was like, yeah, I really want to be like him. But I was worried he won't have time because he was a dean when I first joined him. So we had to make an appointment just to meet with him to show our research, the results. But finally, he got out of the deanship after like a year, and I was there with him for 3.5, 4 years. So then I said to him, then he said, I'll teach you how to give great presentation. I said, okay, please. And so everything I would put down the view graph. That time we had view graphs, right? I would put it down and look at the screen, and I would say something, and he, kind of like try to make a good story, and he would be like, no, that's totally wrong. And I was like, oh my God, you feel so bad because nothing is right, right? And then he taught me exactly what to say, okay, for each one. And that's how I learned, because okay, this is the topic, and you have a figure, so you're not going to go and explain the whole each figure detail. He said, just say general. This is what it is. This is what it does. So like that, he really like made me go through it every time, and he didn't just do it once every. He made me practice more, and he said, you have to practice. So I said, okay. So I went to this conference. I was going to this one conference, my friend and I. And we were excited because it's the furthest from California. We were at UCLA, so everybody got to go to nice places, and we only went to the ones in California. It's like, oh, how boring. So we were like, let's find a conference somewhere very far. So we found this conference, and it was in Washington, DC. So we were all excited, both of us. The whole day we spent finding a good conference. So then we both were getting prepared for giving talks. So I practiced my talk, and I was happy that I was ready. And then even this other guy, but then he had some family emergency. So he had to back out, my friend. And so I said, okay, well, I guess he's not going. And my professor said, no, you give his talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything. And we were doing totally like, because I was a physicist in the electrical engineering department, my professor was electrical engineering. And this guy was doing microwaves, and I'm doing laser spectroscopy, and I have no idea on my, we don't learn microwaves in physics. I said, I cannot give his talk. And my professor said, no, no, don't worry, I'll teach you. So he got all the, what is it called? View graphs together, and he went over with me one by one. And I learned it. I had to like really memorize half the things because I don't know. And then I somehow, I had the courage, and, just too much, I'm weird. So I just didn't feel scared once I decided I'll do it. So I went, gave his talk, and I got the award for the best talk for his talk, not for mine. So I got the certificate, and it was a little trophy because we were students, so they give students. And I took it to my professor, and I said, I'm going to keep this because I gave this talk. And he said, no, Madhavi, you don't have to be mean. Give it to him. So I did that. So I felt good. At least I could give a talk on somebody else's topic. So I really learned how to give good talks. And that really helped me in my um, career here, because in as a scientist, you're not just supposed to do your science, but you're also supposed to talk about your science and impart knowledge to other people. And also, of course, there'll be other scientists. You have to be able to convince them that you're doing, talk about, it's basically a story. You start off with something, with a hypothesis, what samples, you try to say, this is what I tried to do, this is the data, and this is what it's going to be for. And so, yeah, you have to be able to convey your science, or else scientists don't do well if they cannot do that. So
That was my next question, actually. What skills do you see when somebody wants to be a scientist? What other skills other than, of course, science, but other than
science, everybody will have a degree, so they will know their science. But the main thing is how to convey your science, how to network. You need to have a mentor, somebody you can go, even if it's not official, unofficial. When you see somebody good and try being nice and wanting to help you, you always go and ask them, can you be my mentor? And it's not official, but I can come and then bounce ideas off of you. So you need to do that. If you don't do that, nobody will come to you, because everybody thinks you can do your work, right? But that's how you gain. Then what happened for me, because I was sitting as a physicist with technique that I could use for many other applications, not just biological and environmental, that I applied because I was in this division, right? But I had this technology, and I didn't know that. I knew that a lot of people could use it, and I could work with them. And how to grow my influence, I had to see. And nobody in the environmental and biological science could help me, because they didn't do any nuclear work or any kind of other materials work. So I made this thing, and you will be sorry. I hope this is not. You will be. It's good to know, and everybody who goes into any kind of field, it's good to know. I basically called cold people from, we are 5,000 scientists at this lab. So I wouldn't know them, but I would look up the organization chart, and then I would find the people who do research in materials and different areas. And then I would call them up and say, can I come and give a talk to you about my technique? And they would be like, well, no, we don't do that. And you know how you get a lot of, people that, of course, it's wasting time sometimes if it's not. I said, no, 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 I can send you a small abstract to show what it does. And then I'll give a talk when you have your group meeting. Then I can give like a 10-minute, 15-minute talk. So I'm not taking up your whole group. They only do 1 hour. Here everything is 1 hour, and then you leave. So I started getting my foot in the door. And then that's how I made a collaboration with, and actually I told my section head and group leader here, and I said, I go and force myself on people. And he said, really? And you get people to respond? I said, yeah, I do. And I've made these connections, and they were all impressed, because Nobody needed to do that. I needed to do it. That's why I had to come up with that idea, like, oh, I need to do this. So that's one thing I did. Then you have to be able to talk about your science. You have to be friendly. You cannot be having an attitude that, and be able to explain, like you said, in simple words, because what I'm doing may not, they may do different, fancier things than me, but they don't know the language that, so I have to explain what I'm doing. So those are the things you need to learn when you want to do good science and good collaboration. Without collaboration, you cannot survive here, because each project you have to get is up to $500,000 to support just yourself. So if you don't get, then if you get that, you can support yourself, but that's only going to be for 1 or 2 years. See, I've been here, it'll be 25 years next year. Yeah, at the lab. So that's why you need to join a team and then be able to work with them. So those team projects, can people are writing proposal, they'll always call you and say, hey, Madhavi, last time you helped me with this, can you help me on this project? So, then they get to know you. If not, then they won't even know who you are. So that's how you have to make connection, you have to talk, you have to make mentors, you have to participate in team and deliver. If you don't deliver next year, they won't even come to, they said, oh, she was there but she didn't do anything, or he didn't do anything. So then people won't get, call you or even want you on their projects, so like that.
So do you mentor the next generation, or
Yes, we have to. And I feel it's obligation, because I had a good mentor, and so I'm a group leader now. So I will, anybody who comes to me, I will definitely help them. I've promoted 2 people from my group. I only have 5 people in my group. Out of that, 2 I've promoted. And then another one I nominated for an award. So it's, those are the things you encourage them, because if they feel good and do well, you look good, right? It'll reflect on me. So I cannot be just saying, oh, I'm so busy, I'm doing my work, which I am, but I have to make time to help them. So then they will say, oh, she helped me, and now they're doing well and I look good because I'm their group leader. So you have to do that. In the US, it's very much expected. In other countries, it may be not as much. So
yeah. Talking about the time, how do you balance your work life, like personal,
yeah, yeah,
especially being a mom of
it
like
is. It is.
boys?
It's difficult. You're right. You and I, we know. So it's a hard thing, but you need a good partner, like your husband, my husband. Roger was working also like crazy, but he would take the boys for all their activities, because once I came home, I'm like an Indian mother. I would not want to do anything. It's like, oh, do I have to, oh, we have to go for soccer, we have to go for chess, we have to go. And I'm like, I don't have time and I'm so tired. I want to just sit and rest. And so first, when we had only one kid, he did everything. And I started feeling kind of embarrassed. I said, oh my gosh, he comes home and he's rushing around doing this. But then when we had the second one, and then I said, I need to help now. He cannot do both things because they're both different ages. They have to go to different places. Then I started, and they were doing karate. You will be surprised that, or you must be doing the same. It's like soccer, both of them, karate, both of them, chess, both of them. Then one did tennis, the other one did something, guitars, and then he did piano. So we were just running around like crazy. But that's their formative years. Once they went to high school, they were more settled and they could drive and do. But we were just like, cab drivers for them, taxi drivers.
I know we have the same. We have piano, we have chess, we have
My
swimming,
gosh, yes,
and
yes, you
now we have summer
know what
camp.
I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah.
But
What are
like I said, you need a good partner who will help, right? Alone, you cannot do that much.
what are your future plans now?
Oh my gosh, future plans, I'm coming to retirement. So yeah, it'll be 25 years. So I don't know, maybe in a few years, 2, 3 years. I don't want to immediately, but I'm thinking then, of course, I want to travel. I want to help with community service, because I think afterwards we do a lot of work. We make ourselves, do our own development of our own, you know, profession as well as family. We put a lot of energy into that, which is good, but also I want to give to the community. So I'm looking at actually programs that I can join. I was just thinking about it today that maybe I can help in the election, stuff, when now that's only every few years, but still, like, I was thinking what all things I can plan, because I don't want to just sit home and do nothing. But of course, I want to travel also. So maybe travel twice a year and then rest of it, then help the community. So that's what I'm planning. Sorry, I don't have many.
No, that's a big commitment, actually. Right. My last question is, if you could collaborate with any scientist, past or present, who would that be and why?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I looked at your question and I had to think. I had to think. And I kind of pride myself on being a very good experimentalist, because I do everything like the leaf samples. I will scan with the laser, I will prepare them. I have a technician, but still we will work with it together and all that. So the experimentally, I can do it. Here is my thing that I don't put much effort, because then we have groups that we collaborate with and we give our data. They can analyze and tell us what it means sometimes. So if I had that opportunity, I would work with Feynman, or Oppenheimer was weird, but it's a pure, you know, um, what is it called? Quantum mechanics. But Feynman was a very good theoretician, and I always wondered, the plasma is has a can be theoretically modeled, but the plasma that's created by the laser that I use, it's a small spark and it's very unstable, and nobody has done that theoretically, and I don't have time to put my effort into that. I wish I could have had a very good theoretician, so I was thinking of Feynman would be a good person, and he's no more, but I wish I could have had somebody like him too. Because I asked a lot of people here, it's not just random. I asked people if they can help me model my plasma so I can understand the properties and why my samples do differently on this sample versus this. And I never found anybody. So that's why I was thinking about that when you had that question. I was like, yeah.
Maybe after retirement, you can do it yourself.
Myself, true, true. And then it's just theory, so I can sit and do it rather than have a lab. I don't need a lab for that, right?
Right. Well, good luck. Good luck for your
Need it.
all research, and thank you so much
Yeah, thank you.
for your time and inputs. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Gayatri. It was awesome. I like to talk to you because nobody understands scientists as much. But it's nice when somebody asks, and you remember all the things you've done, and